Well, we met in college. We actually met at the church that we were attending. So we were both going to Liberty University, but we didn't cross paths at school. We met at church. We were getting ready to graduate, and I hadn't dated a lot of people, and I met Andrew.
And I was irresistible. And we just hit it off right from the beginning. So I remember the strong connection I had with her was that she also had a desire to adopt even before we were married, even before we had our first child.
I have a cousin that's adopted, and my brother has adopted kids. So it's something that anytime I would see it, my heart would just be kind of moved toward that, and just thinking like, I really want to do that one day. Well, after we got married, of course, we got busy with life, and we had several moves, job changes. We had a couple kids. So I think that because of the busyness of life, there was a time when adoption kind of got pushed to the back burner a little bit.
I think sometimes when you're going through major phases of your life, you oftentimes think, well, I just need to be a little bit more prepared and have a little more money in the bank. Now is not the time, and maybe it'll be one day.
And I think for me, like, I just let my fear kind of keep me from taking that, being ready to take that step. 10 years had gone by in our marriage, and we were about to celebrate our anniversary.
And we took a 10-year anniversary cruise with no children. And again, the topic of adoption came up. And so we kind of looked at each other during that time and just thought, you know what? It's always going to be one day unless you just decide to take a step.
I started imagining this little girl that we were going to adopt one day. And I started to think about her and dream about her, but yet at times it seemed like it was just so far off because there was so much that we had to do to get to that point.
We really believe in, look, God has called us to this, and if it is His will, He is going to provide.
We had an account where we were receiving some donations, and one day I checked it and I saw a very large amount in the account. But I thought it was a mistake because the name, I didn't know the name, I didn't recognize the name.
And in fact, they actually had some Russian sounding names, and it was right around that whole thing, like the Russians are hacking everything in America. And I was like, look, the Russians have hacked our adoption fund, and they're gonna ruin our adoption. But it turns out it was for real. It was for real, and this couple saw our post, had no idea who we were, and they decided that they wanted to bless us and wrote us a check for $4,000, which again helped us in the next major hurdle that we had to climb as we were making our way down the adoption road.
So after about 6 months, we did get the call that there was a little girl that needed to be matched with the family. But even though we were so vigilant to do everything that we knew we needed to do, we still experienced some major delays when it came to the legal part.
Everything was done. And the only thing that we were waiting on to be able to go and to get her and complete the process was, in essence, an official court order from the judge in India. And our adoption agency, they were having special meetings trying to decide if we should actually go to India without a court date. And so we actually decided to do that. We went there, no court date was established, but again, we were believing by faith that God was going to work it out.
It was so scary thinking about doing that. There were so many unknowns. We had no idea what the judge would say. But something that was a huge comfort to me was I remembered the verse in Deuteronomy that says, He is a defender of the fatherless. And I knew that we were not alone. And I knew that God was going to be standing with us. And I knew that He was going to be personally defending our case in front of that judge. Well, the day had finally come that it was time to go pick up our daughter. We were able to pick her up, just a few days after we arrived in India. What I was expecting was that she would be pretty fearful, but we went right up to her and I held out my arms to her and she held out her arms to me. It was incredible. And she came to me, she came to Andrew, she did not cry once.
And I remember we had just, one of the verses like I kept holding on to was Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 and 7, where it says, do not be anxious in anything, but with everything, in every situation, be thankful and present your request to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, guard your heart and guard your mind. And I really just feel like God's peace that transcends all understanding just came into that situation right then and right there.
We were going to see the judge the next day. We did not have an appointment with the judge. And in fact, our advocate had already phoned ahead, and the judge said, no, I will not see them. But we went anyway. She squeezed us in. We stood before her for a few tense moments while she decided if she was gonna, do this official court hearing or not.
I just kept thinking, there's no way in the world where we could ever get this child back. And there's no way in the world that God's gonna bring us this far, and then this judge is gonna say no. I knew 100% that the answer was gonna be yes.
So we did get to have our official hearing, and she passed us. And at that point, it was official, and it was finally time to go home. We were so excited.
So we got her home, and to see the other 3 kids that we have just immediately just wrap themselves around her and start to love her. And each one of our kids had been praying for her almost every single night. And now they too got to see the answers to their prayers literally right in front of them. That one day had finally turned into this day. I wish that more people would just be willing to see what God can do if you really do step out in faith on something.
I mean, I have the most tangible evidence of the Lord providing and His goodness in my arms when I'm holding her. And I'm so grateful to have gone through all of it, the good and the bad. God brought us through it, and I'm just grateful for all of it.